Hi, it's Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are making these sunflower crochet flower coasters. These are so easy to make and fast. All you need are just your basic crochet stitches. So even if you're a beginner, you can totally make these gorgeous crochet flower coasters. For mine, I used 3 different colors of yarn, just whatever I had on hand. So a brown for the center, and this is all 4-weight worsted acrylic. A little bit of a butterscotch for this row here, but you could use whatever color you feel like, more of an orange or whatever you feel like. And yellow for the petals. So just regular 4-weight worsted acrylic. You're also going to need a crochet hook. I used a 5mm for mine. These are 3 inches across, but if you wanted them to be a little bit bigger, all you have to do is use a 6mm crochet hook instead. You'll also need a needle for sewing in your ends and a pair of scissors. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. We're going to start by making our center circle, but it might be hard for you to see this dark brown colored yarn. So I'm going to show you how to do it with the butterscotch color, but you will be using your chocolate brown for this round, or these 2 rounds, the center. So we're going to start by making a magic ring. So just take your non-dominant hand and put that tail over top. Hold it down on your ring finger and wrap it around your 2 fingers, making an X, and then around that 3rd finger and underneath your thumb. Turn your hand over and you'll have 2 strands, a short and a long. Grab your crochet hook and slide it underneath between those 2 fingers. Underneath the short strand, grabbing the long strand and bringing it back. Turning the hook towards yourself, slowly releasing your thumb just a little bit. Wrap your yarn and bring it through. And there is your magic ring. Chain 2, 1 and 2. If that was hard for you, you can also do a slip knot and chain 3 ring, and it'll work out just the same. You'll just have to close up the center of that circle with a needle and thread later. Now into the center of your ring, we're going to do 12 double crochets into the center of your ring. If you are not sure how to make double crochets, I will link my beginning series classes in the cards up above. You can check those out as a little refresher. It takes you all the way from holding your yarn up to basic projects for beginners. So you can pause the video, keep working along. You want 12 double crochets, not including your chain. So our chain does not count as a stitch in this pattern. So just cover it up with your thumb and count the rest of your stitches. You want a total of 12. If your tail gets short, just give it a little pull and it will come out. We may have to make sure we have our tail at the end of our 12 double crochets. So pause the video and I'll meet you when you have 12 double crochets into the center of your ring and working over your tail. So there is my 12 double crochets. Remember, we didn't count our chain. We just counted our 12 real double crochets. So now pull your tail and that'll snug right up, especially if you're using acrylic. If you are making these with a cotton or a natural fiber, be careful how tight you pull because it can also snap your yarn. Now we're going to slip stitch to join to finish this round, and we're going to go right into the top of that first real double crochet. So this little hilly bit down here, that is our chain. We're going right into the top of our double crochet right there to join. So slide your hook in. You want 2 strands of that stitch on the top of your hook and slip stitch to join. And that finishes round 1. If you're enjoying this tutorial, go ahead and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. To start round 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to go right into the very same stitch right there, right where our chain came from, that little guy. So pop your hook in. We're going to make 2 double crochets into that stitch. There's 1 and 2. And into the next stitch right there, we're going to do 3. So 3 double crochets into the next stitch. into the next stitch right there. We're going to do 2. And for this whole row, we're just going to alternate doing 2 double crochets into a stitch and then 3 double crochets into the next. So you can pause the video and keep working around. 3 double crochets into a stitch, 2 double crochets into the next, all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get right back over here where we began. When you get back to where we began, there's that 1 stitch left. So this is our last stitch, and that one gets 3 double crochets. And again, we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first real double crochet. I am not going to do that because I'm taking all this out. We're going to use it for our next row. So that finished round 2. To start round 3, just pop your hook into any of these stitches going around. Get a loop of your butterscotch color or your second color on your hook. Leave about a 4 or 5 inch tail. We want it long enough to sew in with a needle later. Bring it through and slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail and chain 1. So this counts as our first single crochet. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. You can drop your tail now. It's not that great to work over it for too long. You'll be able to kind of see it a little bit, and it's a danger. We don't like that. And 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. So just take your time. Every stitch gets 1 single crochet. You can pause the video, and I'll meet you when you get to where we joined our yarn or when we finished off this last round. I'll show you what to do when we get to that join right there. When we get to our join, we want to go into that stitch right before our knot, and we want to go also into it right after that knot. So we're going to be going into it before and after. That's just going to help our circle look like better. It'll help it look good. So before the knot, before that slip stitch, we do our single crochet, and then after, we do it again. So if in doubt, yes, make a single crochet. So into the next is the same stitch really, but just after the knot, single crochet. This tail you can work over a little bit, and 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around until you get back to where we started. Now we're going to slip stitch into that right there, into the top of that chain we made. So just pop your hook in. It's fatter because we had more strands of yarn. So just get a couple of those on your hook and slip stitch to join, just like that. We also dropped our tail, our little butterscotch tail, right away. We only went over it 1 stitch because we can bring it through, and we can use that to pinch these 2 legs back together. See how they look a little wider than the rest of your stitches? We can use our tail to kind of go under and pinch those together when we're sewing our ends in. And that finishes round 3. To start round 4, chain 3. 1, 2, 3. That counts as our first single crochet and chain 2. And we're going to skip the stitch where our chain is, and we're going to skip the next stitch right there. We're going to work into the second stitch. So into the second stitch, 1 single crochet, chain 2, skipping 2 and into the third, 1 single crochet, chain 2, skip 2. So I worked into this chain here, so that one's already worked into. So just keep an eye. Skip 2 and into the third, 1 single crochet. And now we're just going to skip 1 stitch. So chain 2, skip 1 stitch and into the second, 1 single crochet. So for this round, we're always doing a chain 2, and we're going to skip 2, and we're going to skip 2, and then we're going to skip 1. So skip 2, skip 2, skip 1, skip 2, skip 2, skip 1. But it's always a chain 2. So there's my chain 2. I just did a skip 1, so I'm going to skip 2 twice. So single crochet into the 3rd, chain 2, single crochet into the 3rd, chain 2, single crochet into the 2nd. So that is the repeat for this round. You can pause the video, keep working around, and I'll meet you when you get back to where we started, right over there. When you get back closer to where we started, we have 3 chains left. So we're just going to do our chain 2 and go into that center stitch with a single crochet, chaining 2, and now we're going to slip stitch into that first chain we made. That would be our single crochet. We're going to slip stitch right into that first chain. Let's pop your hook in and slip stitch to join, and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. And you can see it is dished up. We didn't do any increases. But when you push it down, when you work on it, when we work into those chains, it's going to flatten out. But mine also looks like a little dish, like a little saucer. Don't worry about it. It is all part of the plan, all part of the master plan. So that finishes round 4. To start round 5, just pick any of those single crochets you made, one of those stitches. Just pop your hook in, loop of your petal color on your hook, bring it through, slip stitch with both strands to join, and drop your tail. You can just hold it along the top edge of your work. And into this next space right there, we're going to do 2 double crochets into the space, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. And if you'd like to follow along with the written pattern, actually, my patterns are available on my website, secretyarnery.com, and they're written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. Now into this next stitch, that next single crochet, we are going to slip stitch. So just right into that single crochet, 1 slip stitch, and into the next space, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. So we're just building little base petals. There's our 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets into the same space. Then we slip stitch into the single crochet. So slip stitch to pin it down into the single crochet. When you get to your tail, you can just bring it forward so we can work over it a little bit into the next, or when we work into the next space. So wrap your yarn and into the next space, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. Into the stitch, slip stitch to pin it down, and into the space, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. So you can pause the video. Oops, got my yarn there. Let's check, yep. So you can pause the video and keep working along. You're going to be doing your 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, and slip stitching into the stitch, into each of these spaces all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get back to where we started. When you get back to where we started, we're going to slip stitch into the very same spot, right where we began. So into that very same stitch, we are going to slip stitch. So just pop your hook into the same spot, slip stitch, and that finishes round 5. To start round 6, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to find that center chain, that chain 1 we made right in between those pairs of double crochets. Wrap your yarn and we're going to do 2 double crochets into that space. And we're going to do a picot, so chain 3, and now we're going to slide our hook back underneath that front loop and that little side loop. We're going to slip stitch right there. So underneath both those loops, and slip stitch, and 2 more double crochets into that same space. 1 and 2. Chain 3, and we're going to front post slip stitch around that butterscotch stitch down below, right under there. So just grab that on your hook and slip stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Find the center of your next petal, wrap your yarn, and we're going to do 2 double crochets, picot, and 2 double crochets. So there's my 2 double crochets. Chain 3, slide your hook under those front 2 loops, and picot, so slip stitch to make a picot, and 2 double crochets into that same space. 1 and 2. Chain 3 to finish off that petal, and we are going to front post slip stitch around that next stitch right there. Just put your hook in down before it and bring it up after, and slip stitch. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to repeat that all the way around. So find the center of the next petal, wrap your yarn. We're going to do 2 double crochets, picot, 2 double crochets. So there's my 2 double crochets. My picot needs a chain 3, slip stitch under those front loops, and 2 double crochets into the same space. And a chain 3 to get back down, and we're going to slip stitch around that post. So it's called front post slip stitch, just like that. And now you can pause the video and keep working around, just repeating the same thing all the way around. So each of these petals gets a new petal on top, and we're going to be working around each of those butterscotch stitches underneath with our front post stitches. So you can pause the video, keep working around. I'll meet you when you get right over here. When you've worked all the way around, I've done my last chain 3. We're going to do the same thing, so we're just going to slip stitch around that post. So slip stitch and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. Sew in your tails and you're finished. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video up there, and stay hooked. So cute. I just want to put a teacup on there.